Welcome to Adventures of a Tar Heel. Welcome to day 9 of our Vancouver, Alaska trip, my favorite day, our visit to Hubbard Glacier. We woke up to icebergs all around the ship as we entered the bay in front of Hubbard Glacier. It was really awesome to behold all the glaciers, icebergs that had floated out and were hanging out in the ice. If you look down underneath, you could see a lot of the glaciers still under the water, plus you saw some up. The blue color in some of them that hadn't been broken off for very long was simply spectacular, and you couldn't take our eyes off of it. We spent quite a bit of time on the 2 hours we were there just on the deck, watching our advance to the glacier and just enjoying the whole view. We were able to witness lots of calving events, typically preceded by a big thunderclap sound, and then the calving occurred, I would say probably up to 20 of them we saw. It was a very cool morning all in all, and then we
part of the glacier we see today is one of the others that were floated up the ice field are all remnants of that last big ice age. You'll notice the increase of the iceberg coming up here. Glaciers, to be a glacier, it has a definition fluid movement. So that it pulled down, the ice is very heavy, it pulled down the slope by gravity, and it grinds on the bottom, it freezes the rock out of the bottom, and then you're grinding rock against rock as you come down. Grinds rock into a powder that's so fine it doesn't fall out of the water column. And that's the color that you see in the water here is because of that glacial flour or glacial soap they call it. It is loaded with iron and phosphorus and silicon. And so it comes into the ocean here and it fertilizes the low end of the food chain. And that's one of the reasons.
One of the most awesome things about this cruise is definitely the naturalist. That was just a clip of the naturalist talking a little bit about the glaciers. Sorry, it's a little bit fuzzy, but it just kind of goes to show they tell you a lot about what's going on with the glaciers, what causes the colors to be the different colors that they are. You may have heard him also say that the fog actually brought out a lot of blue in the icebergs, which was really cool to know. And even when the sun came out later, which you'll see in the other pictures, it still retained that really blue color because of the way the air was that day. As we were leaving, it actually looked a lot more white, and the boat that came in after us missed all the really awesome colors that we saw. The calving was almost nonstop. That was just a shot of the first big calving we saw. Generally, we would hear a loud crack like thunder as the ice separated, and then it would be a couple of seconds to almost a minute sometimes before we would see the calving break off and fall into the ocean. The thunder was super loud, and the naturalist at one point told us that although there are tons of seals in the area, which we didn't see, but apparently they float on the icebergs and things like that and hang out on the shores near the iceberg or near the glacier, there are not very many orcas and things like that, which I was surprised at until they mentioned that because they hunt with echolocation, the constant cracking and thundering of the calving activity actually makes it really uncomfortable for the orcas and makes it not a great place for them to hunt, so they generally stay away from this area. That's just one of the kind of really interesting things we learned when we were up here about how kind of that whole balance of nature works. So before the cruise, I had said something about being on deck for like the whole 2 hours that we were cruising around Hubbard Glacier because I went to see it, and I had more than a few people say, "How on earth are you going to be up for 2 hours looking at this glacier?" And I probably could have looked at it all day long. It was amazing, and we were on deck 4 for most of the time we were viewing the glacier, and we're out there for most of the time for about the last like 20 minutes. We actually came inside because we were getting hungry and went up to Cabanas, and we were lucky enough in Cabanas that almost no one was sitting on the back deck. So we got a table outside and literally ate lunch while we watched the glacier go by back and forth, and got some more photos up there, and even watched the next ship start to sail in to see the glacier. So that was really cool too.
Look at that thing that cabbed off was. It's a big like wall.
A few iceberg tips I would share with you after visiting Hubbard Glacier, which, by the way, if it's ever on an itinerary you're considering, I highly, highly recommend it. The upper decks are great for viewing the glaciers, and they have a lot more character experiences where you can get your pictures taken with the different characters and things like that. Some of the characters do come down to 4. We tried going up to the top decks, but we kept coming back to 4. 4 was just a great place to view the glaciers. The view is beautiful. At the few times when it was misting, we weren't getting all wet. There's not as big of a crowd on 4, so it's a little more kind of cozy. They do bring around cups of hot chocolate, which was nice. You'll see we're slightly more bundled up than we were for other parts of the cruise. It was a little bit chilly there, but we were fine in rain jackets, and I think we wore light gloves for part of the morning, but towards the end of the time we were at Hubbard, we didn't even need the light gloves, but the rain jackets definitely came in handy. But my main tip, Deck 4 is a great place to view it. I highly recommend getting there early to kind of get a spot. You can get spots, but it's just kind of nice to be able to stake something out. So one of the reasons we did the 9-night cruise was because we wanted to go to the Hubbard Glacier, and I'm so happy we did because most itineraries do not sail there. I think it's only on the 9-night that they go there, and it is absolutely gorgeous. We actually left out that it was cloudy when we got there because it brought out a lot of the blues. The naturalist was telling us that that is more intense when it's cloudy, and because the sun came out while we were there, but it had been so recently cloudy, it stayed blue the whole time. The sound of the iceberg crashing into the ocean and breaking free was amazing. I just really loved everything about this place. I could have stayed there all day. Also loved going up to Cabanas at the end and eating our lunch as we sailed away and watching it over the back deck of Cabanas. It was just an amazing day. On the decks, all through the time we were out there, the characters were walking around in their Alaska outfits, and people were gathered on the top decks as well. We stayed most of the time on 4 because it was a little less crowded and a little less noisy, and the view was just as good. So highly recommend a Hubbard Glacier stop. We also did a bunch of game shows and a silent disco party that night, as well as ate dinner at Animator's Palette, which isn't pictured here. But all in all, a terrific day. Thanks for watching. On day 10, our next video will show our day in Sitka.